If you want to add a service that is profitable, fast, clean, fun, and enjoyable for your clients, try the Ultimate Airbrush Face Painting System. It's the fastest, cleanest airbrush face painting system around, and our Ultimate Airbrush stencils are amazing. Check it out in the link below. I don't have any magic shows scheduled for this weekend. It's Easter weekend, and I'm doing game shows and walk around magic, and I'm doing running Easter egg hunts. So instead of doing that live for an audience, I'm just going to do it here for you in my office, okay? So I have 3 ropes, 3 different sizes. And what I do is I throw these out in the audience. I throw this, I throw that, I throw this. And I make a joke of it, right? I make a joke of how I take the little one back and I talk about how we're going to talk about the rope family. And I say we have a short rope, middle rope. I take the middle rope back. And when I throw the long one out, I throw it in the back of the audience, like maybe to an adult, right? And so I say, okay, we're going to talk about the rope family. We have the baby of the family, we have the mom of the family, and we have the long rope as the dad of the family. But the long rope's out here with an audience member, right? So what I do is I say, just toss that up here. Just go ahead and toss that right up here. And as soon as they throw that, look away. So you say, I've got my baby rope, I have the mom rope, and I have the dad rope. Just throw that. Just toss it. Yeah, just give it a big throw. Thank you. Now what we're going to do, now just toss it. Now, so they're going to throw it, and when you look, it'll go right behind you. All right, and so you say, no, just toss it. Just whenever you feel good, just give it a throw. I need it. I need the third one. I need the third one. And what happens is it's a sucker bit, right? The kids are all yelling, it's behind you, it's behind you. And you can do, what are you talking about? What are you talking? And then eventually look down and see it. But that's a great bit. You throw one out to this person, throw that out to that person. You throw the long one out to the parent in the back. You say you want to just check them, make sure there's nothing weird about the ropes. And then you get them back. Get the little one back, get the mom one back. Now we need the daddy one. Give it a throw. Come on, just whenever you're ready, give it a throw. Now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a story. Come on, just toss it. Just toss it. It's a great bit, right? So anyway, now you're to here. Okay, now this is the story of the rope family going to Disneyland. All right, I have 3 ropes, and I'm going to hold them higher so you can see the bottoms. 3 ropes, and we all went to Disneyland. So the rope family and I all went to Disneyland, and we were having a great time. And then all of a sudden, the baby rope came up to me, and he was crying. He was going, Dooney, Dooney. He said, I can't ride on all the rides because he was too short. Have you ever been on a ride like at Disneyland or someplace where you're too short on the rides, and kids will all go, yeah. And I say, it's a safety thing. I tell him it's a safety thing. You have to be a little bit bigger. But you know what? I might be able to help you with that. Let's try to make you the same size as your mom and dad, and that way you'll be able to go. All right, so I'm going to take the little rope. I'm going to take the middle size rope, the mom rope, and I'm going to take the long rope. All right, and now that what I have to do is I have to make them all the same length. So are those the same length, you guys? No, and I always do this kind of drop to show the difference. All right, so I'm going to bring the little rope up, then the middle rope up. So they're all lined up, and then the long rope up. All right, now there we go. They're all the same size, exactly perfect. Can you see it? Can you see how they're all the same size? And the kids are going to be going, no, they're not the same size. And so, all right, fine. All right, let's do it with magic. You guys say Bawana iguana. I'm going to blow on it. Bawana iguana. And then you stretch it. And what happens is they all get to be the same size. Now, the thing of it is that people think they're not the same size, but is the middle one that size? Yeah. How about the next one? Is the next one that same size? Yeah. How about the last one? Is the last one that same size? Yeah. So guess what happened? They got to ride on the rides. But the problem is I can't leave them like that because, the little one has to go back to school and mom and dad have to go back to work. So I'm gonna bring them all up. I want everybody to wave your hands and say, Bawana iguana, abracadabra, whatever you guys want to. Oh, I don't think we fixed it, you guys. Hold on. You guys did it. Give yourself a big hand of applause. So that's how it works. I'm going to come a little closer. I'll sit down in my chair to show you the holding of it, because you've got to, it's a handling of the ropes, right? That's what it is. It's all a handling of the ropes. So the way it's called the Professor's Nightmare, the way this works is that the long rope, as we know from how we make the ropes, and the short rope loop together like this, even Steven, and then the middle rope goes like that. So that's how we make them look all the same size, right? It's holding this in your hand the whole time. Now, how you get set up to that's the story, right? That's the sleight of hand. All right, so here's how it works. You always line up the short rope. The short rope goes in the crick of your thumb. Then the middle rope. The rhythm is always short, middle, long, okay? So those line up on the flat of my hand with my thumb holding them. Short, middle, long. Short, middle, long. Short, middle, long. So when I bring the short one up, then it goes short, middle, long again. When I bring the short one up, I make sure to get that bend inside my hand. And again, I'm still lining them all up nice and straight. And I am trying to make sure they're as even as possible. Short comes up, middle comes up, long comes up. And this is where I say they're all the same size, right? And the kids will see these and they'll say, no, they're not the same size. But now if I grabbed the last three that I put up, short, middle, long, and I pulled that and stretched it out, it wouldn't work. It would just be exactly the way I put it up. But what I do is when I'm messing with these, you know, I'm pretending that I'm making them all nice and even. I take the first two and I skip the third one and I take the fourth one, right? First two, skip, take the fourth. And then I bring my thumb over to grab that fourth one that I skipped with that hand. So I've changed one of the ropes. So one of the ways that people do this, I didn't learn it this way, but it really is a good way. And that is, you bring it up, you bring up, I'll say you've got your first three, you bring up the first one, and what you do is when you act like you're rolling it, you just actually, you twist those, you twist them. You say, let me get these nice and straight, they have to be nice and straight, and you just twist those two. So there's a twist there, and then this goes 1, 2, 4, 3. Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4. I like that because you're set up. All right, so I would suggest you learn how to do that. I didn't learn how to do that. So 1, 2, bring up the little one. I have to make sure they're nice and straight, okay? And you also have to twist it so that this third one comes towards you, not away from you. It has to come through this bend, has to come through there. All right, then the middle rope. So now we've got the short one with the twist, we've got the middle rope, and we've got the long rope. So now when I grab these three, I'm actually grabbing 1, 2, 6, 5, and 3 with 4, 2, and 1 here. All right. But what happens is now when I just pull these down and I move my thumb over to grab these three, what happens is the two loops happen. Okay, and I'm here. Now, when I first learned this trick, I was not very excited with it because I figured everybody would know they're just looped there, right? But it's the count that makes it exciting. So the middle rope is always the one that's the middle size. So I know that. I'll pull this middle one out straight up out of my hand and I'll say, is this one long enough? Right? And then I go to grab the second one. Now the second one is a trick. The second one is it's called a double switch. I'm going to actually grab these two And I'm not going to grab them in my pointer finger. I'm holding this here. I'm going to grab it in these two fingers. All right, so I grab here and I let go. But what I do with this hand is I grab the other rope with this hand. So I grab the 2 and I hand the 1. And then as I pull that up, I hide it in my hand. So the second count actually does a switch. All right. So I pull that first one out. I go, 1, is that one long enough to ride on the rides? Yes. 2, is that one long enough to ride on the rides? Yes. 3, is this one long enough to ride on the rides? And so it just looks like a count. So when I first learned the count, now I began to think that this might work. And I began to think about using it. All right. So you get to this point, you pull the middle one out. Is this one long enough to ride on the rides? Yes. Is this one long enough to ride on the rides? Yes. Is this one long enough to ride on the rides? And I'll go over the handling of that one more time. All right. And so now we get to the point of the bit where I say, guess what they did? They rode on the rides. Now this move was actually invented, as far as I know, by my son Justin. He added this, and I've never seen anybody else do it, and I love it. I say, what did they do? They rode on the rides. Now this is centripetal force. You just spin it hard and they will stay hooked together. So I drop it and throw it. I say, what did they do? They rode on the rides. Ah, and then catch it back in your hand. So I literally show this, but in such a way that nobody can see it. They rode on the rides. Ah, back to here. And now I just, in order to bring them back up, I just bring all these up, and it doesn't matter now which one I grab first. If I grab the little one first, it'll come out as the little one. If I grab the long one first, you just have to let it, come out, Whoop, this is the long one. Wait a second, this is the little one. They're all different. So you just have to play with whenever you grab whatever end, how you make it look. The only thing you don't want to show is the 2 looped when you're pulling them out, right? All right, but let's walk all the way through that again. So I line up short, middle, long, on the flat of my hand, held with my thumb. Now I'm going to show you this side. Short, switch these 2 while you're talking about straighten them out. Middle, straighten them out. Long. Pull these 3, move your thumb up to grab those 3, pull it. They're all the same size. Now, I know you don't believe they're the same size, but they are the same size. Let's just see. Middle one. Is this one long enough to ride on the rides? Double switch. Grabbing, pulling, and then grabbing here. Is this one long enough? Is this one long enough? They're all long enough to ride on the rides. So guess what they did? They rode on the rides. Have to put them all back together because bing, they've got to go back to school. Oh, there's one. Short one. Hold on. Middle one. Wait a second. Long one. And they're all back to different sizes. So this is a great routine. The count, the spin, those things make it seem like this is one of those that it seems so easy nobody would be fooled by it, but the reality is everybody's fooled by it. It's crazy. It's crazy good. So this is my version of the Professor's Nightmare. I took the story from my friend Joe Mystic, The Trip to Disneyland. Love that. I'll put the name of the author of The Professor's Nightmare down in the link because I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I'll look it up because he deserves to be acknowledged for that. And so now I made this. Again, $10 at Home Depot. Look how pretty it is. And what I do is I roll all this up. I stick it in either a big plastic bag, or I might get a velvet bag to put it in. Tie it up, and this is always preset in my bag, right? I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to think about it. When I take it out, it is ready to go. So once again, packs small, plays big, looks good, inexpensive to make, and is a good wow routine. I mean, what more can you ask from that? So here's how you make your own Professor's Nightmare rope. All right, I went to Home Depot and I bought 10 feet of a very nice rope. All right, now most magician's tricks will use a cotton rope, and you take the center out of it to make it softer. So for most of the magic tricks with rope, it's cotton, but I like this braided nylon because of the color. Okay. So what I did was I took a piece of gaffer's tape or duct tape, put it on the end. Now I could use a red tape or a blue or green, but all I have around here is black, so I'm just going to use black because it'll disappear. But the reason you tape the end of it is because when you cut it, it will fray, and you don't want it to fray. All right, so I cut that right in half. Okay. Now, I can melt that. I can take a candle and I can melt that, but I really don't like the way that's come out the last 3 or 4 or 5 times I've done it. So what I do is I just super glue it. I take a little bit of this Loctite glue gel and I just super glue it. The reason I do that is now it's going to stay, but what I didn't like about the melting it is it creates little sharp jags in there that sometimes will catch on the side of the nylon, and you'll get little pulls here along the rope, and then you can melt those down. You don't have to worry about those, but it's better if you don't have those, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is measure, if I hold this in my normal spot, how much space do I have where it's just above the ground? I want it to be up a little bit above my hand, and then I want it to be, a couple inches above the ground. So I'm just going to measure that. I'm looking at it. You guys can't see all the way down to the ground, but I'm going to pick right about here as my long rope. Okay. And so what I'll do is I'll just tape piece of tape right here. Make sure to wrap it tight. And I'm going to cut right in the middle. Okay. Now I'm going to go back and glue these later. I'm not going to worry about that now. But what I've got is I've got a long rope. Okay. So first you cut the long rope. Then you cut the short rope. Now the short rope, you want to be able to bend it inside your hand and have it just a few inches above your hand. So I'm going to shoot for about here. So I want the bend to be in the middle of my hand. And then I'm just gonna, I'm gonna try to, it's not an exact science. It's just right about where you want it, because you do not have to measure either one of those exactly. That first one or the second one, you do not have to measure exactly. All right. Now what I'm going to do is cut this in half. And you notice when you cut the tape exactly in half, then you wind up with ends of your ropes with the black tape on it, and it just looks like, it just looks like a magic trick now. All right, so what I've got is I've got a long rope and a short rope. And then what I do is I hook the long rope and the short rope together like that. I make sure the ends are even, like that. So I have even ends here, even ends here. And then this last measurement is the only one that has to be precise. I line that up so that all the tops are even. And I'm going to come down here and measure exactly where the bottom would go. So that third cut has to be exactly the same length as the first two cuts looped together. So the first two cuts are looped together, just like that. And then the last one, you want it to be exactly even with where those fall. Okay. Yep, I did pretty good. So now I'm going to cut this. So I bought 10 feet of rope at Home Depot. It cost me $1.17 a foot. Okay. And I'm going to have this much left over. All right, so I probably could have got 8 feet of rope, but I never buy 8 feet of rope, because if you buy 8 feet of rope, then you know you're going to be an inch short, because you're not measuring those first ones. So I'd rather have a little extra. I can use it for another middle rope again. I can use it for another short rope if something happens to either one of those. I'd rather pay the extra $2 and have the extra. So now what I've got, I'll go ahead and glue these, but now what I've got is I've got my 3 ropes. I have a short rope, I have a middle rope, and I have a long rope. Okay, well that's it for this. Have a great day. Don't forget to click on the links below for my airbrush equipment or my coaching site. Don't forget to subscribe, because I got lots more coming. Okay, I'm shooting for 100 videos in the first 3 months, so never know. I might make it. All right, have a great day.